What if I told you the difference between success and staying stuck comes down to just one thing? Today, we're getting straight to the point with someone who's built 12 startups across engineering, media, and beyond. No fluff, no wasted time, just real talk of what it takes to build, pivot, and win. Let's get into it.
I'm here with Rodney Wilson, a special guest today on Straight to the Point. I'm Tristan Guerrero, your host. Rodney, thank you for meeting me out here in El Cajon at Habit Burger. Let's tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm kind of someone who likes to follow the passions of things that I'm kind of interested in. And if there's an opportunity to help someone or do something with that particular passion, that's led to me starting little companies or helping other companies get started or helping other people have experiences that are meaningful in their life, which is where I'm focusing my energy right now. Right now, I am specializing in customizing interior vehicles, adventure vehicles, so that families can get out there and enjoy the great outdoors. So I design and engineer components for off-road vehicles or adventure-based vehicles, mostly specializing in the Mercedes chassis and the Ford chassis at this time. But a few other designs as well, and kind of leveraging some of my previous experience to help with that design concepts.
That's awesome. Wow, I didn't even know about all that. That's cool. Well, let's dive right into the mix of things. So you've built 12 startups over the course of your life. And let's just talk about what's one trait that you think separates people from succeeding from those who stay stuck.
I think part of what helps you move forward in starting something, doing something, staying active into something is to, one, see a need and then feel like you need to fill that need, right? So you really need to be passionate about what you're doing, because there may not be a big payoff, or it may end up being a great life lesson, but not financially, the next Zuckerberg or something.
Right.
So what is going to drive you to get up every day, even when it isn't necessarily making you millions, is filling that need. And that can be something personally passionate that you want to give back. It might be something in your past that tells you want to participate in something to make a difference, whether it's saving trees or climbing the next big mountain or something. You want to have a piece of passion that gets you out of bed, regardless of how well it's going to reward you that week, that day, that year. And so that's what gets you out of bed every day to do something, is filling that personal need that then, in my opinion, generally helps other people.
Yeah, totally. And I kind of was led into the same way too. Like, what's your big why of what you do today?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of going off of that. What is the purpose of what you're doing? Because I kind of felt that same way with my last job. Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Kind of way.
Because your jobs will always be work. Work is work. There is a certain amount of stuff you're going to do that is going to be less passionate, or just the grind, or one more Excel sheet you got to get done before the end of the day. But it's having something outside of that. And some of the cultures have that figured out, because they say, I'm working really hard so that my kids can have a better future. They can go to college. They can do that. So the parents are very sacrificial and very focused on giving their kids everything they possibly can to get them a little farther along than where they came from. And in other places, it's our self-centered piece where we're like, I want to accomplish this. I want to have this cool car, or this house, or live in this neighborhood, right?
Right.
I'm not advocating for one formula being the only thing that's passionate, but understanding what that passion might be that helps drive you every day. Because when you do start companies, or when you do have a cool idea and you try and gather around other people that are like-minded, you're going to need that passion and help push forward. Because as soon as you start adding more than yourself to the equation, you start making that harder. But the only way to make something is to have more than yourself involved, typically. That synergistic process where you have more people working on something, where you're able to do more together because everybody is really pulling hard to make that happen, tends to be what makes the next big thing for you, whether it's personal passion or a nice, successful XYZ company.
Wow. Okay. For me, I'm still kind of in the midst of figuring that out. But I don't know if it's the same way for you. Being able to serve people.
Yeah.
It's a big thing for me. Part of my big why I'm in the industry I'm in.
Yeah. Service, I think, is probably the easier motivator, because it takes part of your personal gain out of it. When you go to the gym and you don't see immediate gains in the second week, you don't really quite feel you did well enough. It's real quick to burn out February, March of that New Year resolution, because you didn't get that personal gain. So setting yourself aside, saying, hey, I'm showing up for my friend who's also at the gym who needs a coach and needs a motivator, who needs someone who says, yes, I'll be there at 5:30, and you're at 5:35 and you're there and you're looking at the watch going, hey, you're 5 minutes late, right?
Yeah.
It's that mutual passion that drives you guys, because if it was just you and your iPod every day trying to listen to some good music and you don't see those gains, it's easy to just peter out afterwards. So I think having that service helps keep you more accountable than just your own desire for change or improvement.
You have a mentor yourself or someone that keeps you accountable?
Not as much now. So I have had at different stages in different projects, somebody that I looked up to, somebody that was a little smarter about something, somebody who was a little more creative about something. And that would be the other thing, is if you can get involved in a project that has somebody that you can kind of look to kind of be inspired by, surround yourself by those that are as equal or slightly more than yourself, so you're rising up to meet the challenge, as opposed to being the only one that has any passion in the project. That becomes harder. So a friend of mine used to call them Klingons, somebody who would cling on to your idea, but then hold on to you. Then he went into some boating projects. So we used to joke around, oh, now you have barnacles hanging on to you, just slowing down the boat, slowing down this project. So we were always joking around about things like that. But the idea is that, you do want to find people that have some passion, and ideally in the same area. And if it's slightly different, maybe it's there so that you can broaden your horizons about how to tackle a project. So you have different skill sets than me, for example, and you look at things differently than I did. So if we were sitting down discussing a problem, what you thought of as an idea or what you think is hard about that problem will be different than mine. And by us being able to talk about it, we will learn something about our problem. And a lot of it feels like to me, when you have that mentor, is that mentor can be the next person walking down the street. You see them smiling and you're frustrated with the day and you're like, well, the day isn't that bad if they're still happy, right? It can be just as simple as that, to break that mode of defeatism and the clouds rained on me today kind of thing. Or it can be someone who's, I know how to solve that problem. Here, let me program this for you and show you how this will actually work. Whether it's a software problem or whether it's a hardware problem, is like, oh, if we shape this piece of metal this way, these two parts will now fit, right? It's like, oh, I didn't think of it from that angle. I didn't think of twisting the 3D into another shape to solve the problem, but somebody else does, right?
Right.
So that's part of how it works, I think, for me.
Nice. Like for me personally, I have my accountability buddy, is who I have, who keeps me accountable for even anything work related and even anything outside of work too. Whether we're getting that run in or lift in at the gym, but also like, hey, did you do this? Did you do this at work? Or did you do that? Did you meet someone today? Kind of thing, right? Yeah. Did you make your calls or?
Yeah. Did you reach out to people?
Yeah.
And that's a great example with you interacting with me, right? You reached out, we had a conversation about some stuff. You were interested in a little bit about me, and then you continued to pursue and plan and adjust our schedule to make this happen today. It gives me the passion and interest in what you have, as well as keeping me accountable to saying, hey, I have something that can help this other person in what they're trying to strive for. So let's make some time to sit down and talk.
Right. And I'm glad we made it work today.
Yeah.
What was it, like a few weeks or so?
A couple of weeks of jostling around a little bit. Yeah. It's like, oh, no, I got to go to LA, and then I have to be back in LA 2 days later, and coming back in San Diego at 3 a.m. Let's not do it the next morning. So,
I totally get that.
So it was a little bit of jumping around, but we got it done.
Well, I wanted to move on to our
Sure.
second question. If someone has a great idea, but doesn't have a clue of where to really start, what's the first step they should take to take it into reality?
Look for prior art. So you have a great idea. That doesn't necessarily mean there isn't 100 other people that are doing the exact same thing and you just haven't found it yet. Don't be discouraged if you find a lot of prior art for something that you have a passion for, but that's where I would start, because you're going to learn a lot from what other people have already done, and it starts the refinement of your idea initially. Because you don't have an idea of exactly how to get started, prior art is not only going to help you say, gosh, there's 10,000 other companies doing this, maybe I shouldn't jump into that ocean. Or I see a bunch of people doing this, I kind of see how they've gotten where they are, marketing, strategy, communications, newsletters, whatever they're doing, right? However they're getting their message out there. But I also see their products, or I see their service, and I think there's a reason that I should jump into there, because I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not going to rip them off, but I am going to understand and learn from what they're doing, and I think I have value add, so I'm going to jump into this one anyway.
Got it. So it kind of, in a sense, you don't just join a startup just because, oh, it's cool, or
No.
for no reason. You actually kind of think about like, hey, why would I be important? What value do I bring to the table?
What do I bring to the table? And what is the rest of the team trying to bring to the table?
Yeah.
And what's the market for that? What is else out there in that market?
Nice. And do you come into the companies bringing capital at all, or is it really more of...
Yes. Some places I brought in capital. Some places I bring in organization, passion, belief, encouragement. Sometimes it's like, I know what you're doing. I know of another company that can use your service, connections of the dots.
Mm-hmm.
Getting, a service contract company out of Portland, Oregon that works with computer technology to work with a company farther in the Willamette Valley to get their services down there for another company that wants to have that same service, but didn't realize the two companies were together. But because I worked in Portland and I worked in Eugene, I'm like, there's two companies that can really benefit working with each other. See if we can connect the dots. And I know of a segment of this market, let's say it's veterinary clinics that need software development, database management, and hardware. I know of those industries because I worked for some of those to help them develop that. They could use experts in this area. They can use a distribution channel for this hardware that comes out of this other company that needs to move more hardware. The companies in Southern Oregon really wanted to service and develop their IT business. I'm like, focus on companies that have very specific and consistent hardware platform requirements so that when you go in, you can become an expert very quickly. You're not trying to service all huge variety. You're servicing these standard hardwares, these standard requirements, this standard database, and you're moving this product into those, creating that service contract to say, hey, we need to switch your hardware out every 3 years. We need to have these washable keyboards in and around your medical facility so you can clean them up and make sure they're sanitized, those kinds of things. Doctors know that they need some of this, but they don't know where to get it unless they're just buying it randomly online. But if you have the channels, you have the distribution, you have the inventory, you can make that stuff available in that area. So that was an example of kind of me stepping in and connecting the dots, being the facilitator to that, and a little bit of an expert in some of the software already, and then training the other side of that organization and how to do that part of the work. It's like, this is what you want to focus on because all of these clinics use this exact software. Here's the installation base. Here's all of these clinics that need that software, and they have a hard time justifying the costs. So go in with a nice, decent revamp, fix, and a simple maintenance schedule, which gives you the opportunity to go in and fix things and suggest updates. You get more business from that than gouging them on a high-end service contract, as opposed to just be in there often enough to pick up the little scraps until they just realize how much beneficial you are, for example. So that's one of the things that I spent some time doing.
Nice. And going back to what you said about, seeing the two companies, one in Portland, one in Eugene, were you part of like a merger of two startups before?
Good. So I definitely have been a part of companies that have bought each other.
Yes.
So I have worked for companies that then swallowed other companies.
Okay.
And then my role in that company would be, hey, let's onboard this technology. Let's figure out how we're going to use this for the platform or what we do. That would be involved in some of the security-based software. So security companies will buy other security companies that have a niche in the market. Oh, you do network and device protection, and you do network discovery, and another company might do individual management processes. Well, how do you combine these different technologies underneath one new platform? And then how do you software test that in a large scale environment? So I developed large scale testing environments in a virtual system so that we could mimic thousands of clients communicating across the back end, so we could stress load the servers, et cetera, like that. Fly out to individual businesses, install the software, and then be on site monitoring, testing, collecting logs, doing real world examples so that we can do process improvement afterward to build a better product later.
Yeah. And it doesn't go perfect at all.
No, there's definitely challenges.
What was kind of the most challenging one that you were a part of?
There's a long list. So there's everything from, building some of the stuff that I do today, off-road adventure vehicles that are hybrids that were being tested to be tough enough to live in Antarctica and work in Antarctica kind of thing. So I worked on projects like that. That was very challenging. So many different people with different disciplines and different personality types. and a lot of logistics because it was for a nonprofit. So nobody was getting paid. So you had to really, really motivate people to give up their time, energy, and, you know, expertise to do this for years at a time. And so that's a grind. That was a really hard stuff, you know, but I did come from software testing world. So working on long software sprints, developing process improvement loops, that type of grind is another experience that gave me kind of this ability to kind of persevere through some of those challenges because you have that end goal, kind of knowing where you want to be. Hey, this needs to work. And here's the definition of done. Here's what we know will be good and will survive the environment we're putting it in or survive the software requirements that we're doing. So having the definition of done, but not a definition of perfect is important to understand.
Okay. Well, moving on from that.
I ramble, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. I like it. Now, every entrepreneur faces a lot of setbacks, like
Yes.
challenges, what you were just talking about. Can you share a time that when things didn't go as planned and how you were able to adjust and pivot to make sure you guys were back on track?
Staffing is a challenge, especially when you need technical staff, really capable people. Getting the right staff and then having the personality that will also work with your organization, having the ability for everyone to kind of line up along the vision. So let's just take wood crafting, right? So if you need somebody to make something very specific, they can have a lot of wood crafting. But if a client comes by to have a conversation with me and they're over there cussing and swearing that the tool isn't right or whatever, it leaves a negative impression about the company, right?
Right.
So you have to kind of think about how and where you plug in your resources. You know, are they customer facing? Are they going to be behind the scenes in the shop? You know, so there's that little kind of logistics. And when you hire those folks, it takes a year or so to really dial them into your company. So having them leave for whatever reason is a huge setback, but having multiple ones leave in a row, that's crush, you know. So my current organization, we flex between around 4 to 12 folks, depending upon what we're doing. Some of them are specialists working remote, developing products and sending them to us. Some companies are specifically developing products that we've worked with to kind of tweak them our certain way so we can get that done. It's a very good way to leverage other companies' skills and passion to give you what you're looking for. But when you have to do things internally, you need your staff to be able to do that. And we had 3 people leave really soon, really quickly. And it's been a struggle to kind of put that talent back into the business. We had to reorganize about 6 months worth of work that was scheduled on the books, reach out to our clients, say, hey, we're going to have to move you around. These particular pieces are going to need a little bit more time to engineer. You know, that part is tough because we're customer facing, right? So that immediately gives an impression on a client when you have to push them back a couple of months because of logistics. One of our clients, because they had a lot of special stuff, we moved them a full year back in our schedule. Wow. So that part was tough, but they had a lot of very custom things and it was just going to take us more time to give them what they wanted. That critical conversation and replacing those talents is definitely one of the issues. You know, obviously financial is one of the things to do for company compliances, financials. How do you project where you want to be is always a guessing game to making sure you're doing something that is in long-term strategy besides just solving today's problems.
Right.
But I think for me, it's mostly talent and vision alignment, right? Getting everything aligned and around that and trying to drive the company forward.
And like what you said, you had to tell a client that they're being
6
pushed
months.
out a year or 6 months to 12 months.
Yep.
How do you keep them motivated about and excited about the product and service that you're putting out, having to be delayed for that?
Yeah, that's a great
amount of
question.
time, right?
So it leads back to kind of the core of how we figure out our customer. That core is 3 key questions that we would like to understand, which is where do they want to go?
Okay.
So that gives us the environment location of what we're building for. You're a desert person, you're a beach person, you're a mountain ski person, you're a couple of combinations. Where is your passion to spend most of your time? So just thinking about the adventure vehicles for a moment.
Okay.
Then the next part is how long do you want to be in that environment? So that gives us the resource use, right? How much power, water, electricity, food storage, etc. for your adventures. And the last part is how much comfort do you need to be there for that period of time in those environments? I need my air conditioner, my TV on, and a brewski in my hand every night kind of thing, or I just need to be able to put my backpack away, dry off, and be dry when it's raining, right?
Right.
You know, the basic shelter kind of stuff in an adventure vehicle that can get in. Those questions drive our requirements. And so when we've had the customer help drive the requirements, we clearly go, we need to build these things because you've given us this requirement. And because these requirements are really not negotiable from you, if we give you something less, you're not going to do the things you want to do with this vehicle.
Right.
So in order for us to meet your requirements, we need this time to do that. So we hook them back into their vision, right?
That's good. Yeah.
You know you want this. You know you're going to use it this way. And that vision requires these resources for us to build it. So give us that time so we can deliver your vision.
Got it. So you kind of put it back on them and say, hey, as long as you believe in us, believe in what we're doing to serve you, we're going to make it happen.
As long as you believe in those requirements and vision, we'll make that dream come true for you. We'll make that equipment work for you, right? And it ties them back into committing to their vision. A lot of people don't want to back away from something that they're spending a lot of time, energy, and money invested into. So if they are committed, we are committed, you know, because they're going to invest that money and they're going to give us the time to build it for them. And if they change their requirements, then we change how we build. I had a call today for a customer and he goes, hey, the inside of one of our storage bags we're going to hang on the wall has an orange piece in there. So maybe we should change the fabric that's an accent in the floor from blue to orange. Can you order this new flooring, recut it to the right shape, and get that delivered instead of the blue one that we already talked about 4 weeks ago?
Oh, man.
I'm like, 4 weeks ago, we've delivered that. It's already here waiting. I said, but if you want to switch, we can, because blue is really popular and orange is really popular. So we'll put one into inventory. We'll go order the next one, and then we'll have the blue one ready for the next customer that wants this package. So for something like that, it makes sense for me to make that exchange because I know I can sell the blue.
Okay.
But if it was something completely custom, like the next customer that I'm actively working on, the power module we're designing now has to fit in a physically different space, and the equipment has space requirements. So I'm actively designing that, and I'm having to communicate those designs with my design notes to engineering to kind of say, this is what I think will work. They're trying to sketch it to confirm some of the measurements and minimum space requirements for the hardware.
Okay.
And I'm confident it'll work. They haven't said yes because they can't see it yet. So I'm over frantically drawing up new designs so they can get the idea. But the customer wanted this change because another piece now became a mission critical piece. It needs to be X size with X features. And because of that, it's taking up more space. So everything else has to adjust because this is more important out of the requirements list. So we're going to redesign the power enclosure to make some more space in the interior.
Dang, that's tough. But
it's a new design.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go through and redesign something new that pops up out of the blue.
Yep.
And maybe give the audience some background information about the current company you're with. So I saw a picture that you took of a camper van.
Yes. Yeah. So we build adventure vehicles in the Mercedes and Ford chassis, everything from suspension stuff on the outside, big tires, wheels, stuff like that, light bars, lighting, storage boxes on the outside, galleys, kitchens, bed systems on the interior, or very minimalist gear hauler style of interior. So we start out with a pretty flexible interior package that has L-track and other integrated components to allow us to not only mount other hardware, but mount your gear right away. So a base package gets you a nice, good place to store everything that you want to throw in there. But if you're like, hey, I need a place to sleep, but I need to take these panels out because sometimes I got to haul something. So I need it to be more of a freight hauler, right? So we make a very flexible package. One of the things about our company is that we really focus on the modularity. You know, modular adaptive recreation system is really what we focus on so that we can change those pieces in and out or add them over time. We've had a lot of customers come back to us year after year after year, making updates, changes, adding seats, subtracting seats when their family has now gone off to college. And he goes, I don't need this big bench seat anymore. Can we get rid of this and put in something else? Or The wife would like a better galley, so let's get rid of this piece and switch something out, right?
Huh.
So having that modularity gives us that long-term client relationship and adaptability. And we have a standard frame that really helps us get started in that area.
Oh, wow. Nice. I personally have a Volkswagen Vanagon 84, the brown beige color difference tone on it.
Okay.
I don't know if you've had customers come to you with something like that piece of retrofit, or even some van that they got as they purchased it and wanted to invest into something that you guys build. Do you have customers that come to you and say, hey, I bought this, can you guys help retrofit this out for me?
Yeah. So we have had customers that'll say, hey, I want to open a little mobile coffee shop. You know, I need a big power system to run our grinder and our coffee makers and stuff. Can you build us a cool power system? I'm having another company kind of outfit the interior so that it's, you know, a food crafting interior, but the power system isn't what they do. They work on the structure. So we're going to build that power system for that client, for example. Another customer who's a big off-roader in a Ford F-150. He's already got some cool stuff, lights and all kinds of stuff. And he's like, dude, it gets a little too cold when I'm really going, because it goes back to where do you go, right? How long? He's up in some cold environments for a little longer than he likes. He goes, is there a way we can set up another heater system in the back? So we set up a new fuel heating system that takes advantage of his gas system, pulls additional heating and heats up that back interior. We do that a lot in the Sprinters and a lot in the Ford Transits, but we can also do that inside of the back of a truck or inside of a camper shell or other related things. So we take on projects like that. We've done some interior modifications where somebody has gotten partially started with their idea and realize they're in over their head. We got to tear out some of it and start over. And
oh man!
Look at their wiring, going, yeah, not the right wire. We'll take this one out. The other one's okay. We'll leave. We'll add on. You know, so we've completed visions and added our own touch after having more conversation with the client.
I like that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll keep the conversation going here, rolling along. So our next question I wanted to ask you is things that move fast in business. What's kind of the smartest way you're able to pick up new skills quickly without having to waste time, even if you're rolling along and trying to get things going?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. It goes back to our earlier statement about looking for prior art. So if you have an idea, look to see what else is out there. There might be a company that's already producing something that you could leverage, right? So you don't need to be the master of every product or every process, but you can affiliate and associate with like-minded companies that are delivering what your vision is, right? Because they've already produced that product. And so that would be one thing. Look for that. If you're starting to work with those companies, but you have a better idea, see if you can help improve that product, if they're open to your contributions to a design update. If not, then you're looking to say, well, how do I want to jump into this if I really have passion to make this and nobody else is doing it the way I want to, right? So there's that element. That goes to, you know, breaking it down into your skill sets. What part are you good at this? And what part do you realize, oh, I know I want to design this, but I'm not that good in the CAD to make this out of metal. So I got to go hire somebody to do that part. So be able to recognize your strengths and be able to recognize that strength in someone else that you can partner up with. Right. So let that ego go. You know, especially if you're the person who's creating the company, you want to have every hat on. That's not important. It is important to understand what those hats are doing and help drive the vision of the company to say, hey, we're going to make these things. We're going to make this impact. We're going to help this customer. We're going to do this charity, whatever that is.
Right.
But let the other people contribute, right? When they are giving their all, when they're meeting their vision of their contribution, they're going to be happy. They're going to join in with you in the company. So give the other people the chance to shine as well.
Got it.
You know, there's tons of tools out there to learn something, whether it's, you know, a brilliant course or an online this or a local community college to get you familiar with XYZ. Don't be afraid to dabble in whatever those things are, even if it's just to help you understand what it is so that you can hire the right person, or you can get enough skills so you can just knock it out of the ballpark and move on with your day. Be willing to go either direction.
Right. And like what you said, there's something out there that someone's already thought of that you could just pick up right away. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
No.
And do your own brand new thing when it's already been done out there. Why not take a little bit of what they're doing.
Yeah. A great
Apply it
example
your
is
way.
this, we work with a company called Al Off-Road, Al Engineering.
Okay.
They make a really good tire wheel carrier that goes on the back of the Sprinter.
Oh, cool.
We sell that one 90% out of all the products that we use for that area. That's the number one that we sell is that particular brand, that particular feature, because it solves all of the requirements that our customers are asking. And we have confidence that it's a quality product, right? So it's very easy to say, I don't need to remake that because it exists. It's a great product. We have a good affiliation with the company.
Right.
The products are delivered well. They have good service to us. They have good service to our clients. We will rep that product because it solves the need. We don't need to make that. When I started 8 years ago, when I was thinking about that particular piece, I had my sketchbook out and I was drawing and designing something to work. And I was like, I think I'd come up with something pretty cool. And I started looking around. I'm like somebody else has got something pretty cool. It's almost the same. I think I'll just buy that instead.
Yeah.
Instead of letting my ego crush me and say, I got to create a company that makes a tire carrier. That wasn't important.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's kind of like, even in the business I'm in, there's already a process of how people go out, outreach, or passively keep people in the business so that you can replicate that over. So now it's being able to take that, utilize it to your own way.
Yes.
So I like that.
Definitely take it into your own way because, that's where you get fulfilled. This is about fulfilling your employees, yourself, your mission towards the customers you want to serve. However, that's defined by you. You need to be fed some way too.
That's true.
Doesn't have to always be financial. Doesn't have to always be, oh, I did X, Y, Z and I can brag about this. You just need to feel that every day because that's what gets you up to do it again the next day.
Right. That's true. Well, I also wanted to ask here, what's something people think is productive but actually slows them down? And what should they focus on instead?
Don't listen to every expert, right? So I just got through spending a lot of time talking about leverage other people, surround yourself by people that have something to offer that might be one up on the ladder than yourself, but don't listen to every expert. They have an invested interest to tell you their story that may not serve you for your vision. You can learn something from it, but you don't necessarily have to listen to their advice exactly. If I said, hey, I think you need to hit these social marks and this number of outreach and, X, Y, Z, and I lay down this really tight blueprint for you for what you're doing, right? You may go, gosh, I'm not getting that. And I'm your accountability buddy and we're checking in and I'm nagging on you and this, that, and the other. I'm showing you that you're always missing the mark, right? But are you making progress? Are you feeling fulfilled? Did you do something good with the last person you talked to? Then you are making progress towards where you are. This expert, this person that's your new accountability buddy, isn't necessarily focused on that. And that's where we're misaligned. So don't always listen to that expert because some of their information isn't going to be truly aligned. Be willing to pick that apart, take what's good, recognize what's slightly misaligned, be respectful, chart your own path, right? Be able to change that path.
Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, because you can find the next expert and he goes, you don't need 10 outreach. You really need 5. You should really cut that down from 3-hour long podcasts to 40 minutes, whatever that is. And you're like, that fits me better because I run out of things to say after X, Y, Z. So I'm going to take that advice, right? Don't get locked into one. Stay a little flexible.
Okay. Good to know. I feel like a lot of people, even in my age group, they just don't know where to start. Yeah. And they have to listen to everyone to be able to start what they want to do, their own business.
I've had a few folks that spend a lot of time going to these seminars and checking this out and trying to get into these meet and greets and listen to these people. And those that are making a lot of money will stand on a stage and talk about stuff. I'm a rambler. I know that. If you don't have a good list of questions for me to go through, I'll kind of wander off. So it wouldn't be your best interest to just listen to me ramble all day. It's better for you to know what you want to get out of me, ask those questions, and decide, is it valuable to you, right? That's what I think people should focus on is like, take some of that information and come back to yourself. Don't spend a lot of time on social media and this and jumping around. We all talk about the multitasking. There's a certain amount of multitasking and things you can do per day, but there's a certain amount of things you really have to focus on and being able to prioritize. Hey, I've got to get that invoice out so the customer can pay that invoice so I can make payroll, so I can buy those parts, but the next person's talking about something really cool and I want to think about designing that because that's really what I want to do, right? So sometimes you just got to do the work,
Exactly.
and shut down some of those distractions, and you'll feel more accomplished. You'll set better timelines for, hey, 30 minutes of this, and then I'm going to break away from this because I know I've got something else that I need to talk to somebody about, right?
Right. And even someone like, for me in my generation, Gen Z, I feel like they're just so overwhelmed with all these ideas, and I don't even know where to start. I'm just probably just going to wait until I figure it out. I feel like you just have to go and
you
do
have
it.
to start,
right?
Don't
Take
don't
action.
get the design fatigue where you're like, I could do this, I could do this, I could talk to this person, I'm going to go to this seminar and learn this. Oh, wow. And then you're like exhausted. Design fatigue, idea fatigued, right? Don't do that. This goes back to less is more. Pick one or two things, move them forward a little bit, drive that to an area that's like, okay, now I know how to do this. I took this basic programming class, so I understand how this stuff works in the background. Do I want to get into understanding how to write APIs for software because I want to sit at a desk at a big corporation and design stuff for security software because I'm passionate about that? Or hey, I've learned a little bit. I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
But you don't want to be in this constant, oh, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try this. You do need to pick something. You do need to put a certain amount of energy into it, but it's got to be back to something you're passionate about. Not because somebody else is passionate about them, not because it looks easy, not because the latest crypto says it's making a lot of money and you can drop some dollars there. It's like, those things never work. Hard work is hard work. Those that get lucky is luck, and everybody else is working for it, right?
Right. Totally. I would just feel like, you could just post one video out there. Boom, that one video goes viral. But then there's other people that do it consistently, and eventually it does, you do get there through that hard work. So
you got to ask yourself, is the viral the goal or is it the information, right?
Yeah.
So is the viral the goal or is it the information? Is it the service? I don't focus on that aspect. Matter of fact, I hire some of that out because I don't want to spend a lot of time with that. I set some of the objectives of what I want, and I let other people kind of massage the video clip or put something together or talk about what we plan to do. But I'm like, hey, in spring, we're going to talk about these things. And I think in summer, we need to make sure we have our air conditioning units and our power systems ready to go so we can drop them in quick and make a quick install, right?
Right.
So I set the vision for certain pieces. I let some other people do some of that other part of the work because, one, they're more passionate about it than me. I let that part go, recognize their skills and talents, give them the chance to shine and do their part of the job. You don't have to be everything to all of that, but you do have to pick something and you have to put effort into it.
Got it. Okay. That's good to know. Well, based off, you've definitely built relationships over the course of your career and your lifetime, different industries, whether you're in media or what you're in now.
Yep.
What's the best way to form meaningful connections and to actually open you doors to maybe new connections, new opportunities?
Recognize the talent of others. Recognize the talent of the other companies. Be a part of their ecosystem if it's aligned to your ecosystem. Because now you're like-minded, right? If you go to a rock, that you're going to go rock climbing, and you find some other rock climbers out there, you guys have the same passion. You're going to start up the same conversation. You're going to say, hey, I just got through climbing Mount XYZ down the way, and I came up over here through a 20-mile hike to do this one this week. Where have you guys been? You're going to share a lot of stories. You're going to swap some phone numbers. You're going to take a couple of selfies next summer, and you're going to text them over going, hey, I managed to get up on XYZ Mount. Have you guys got to there this summer as well? That's where you're going to find yourself aligned. Don't put yourself into a coffee shop when you don't drink coffee.
Hey, right. Yeah.
Right? You can sit down and work on your laptop, but you're not going to have anything in common with anybody else that has to have 3 cups before they can start their day.
Right. That's true. Yeah. I like that you mentioned that. Don't put yourself in a coffee shop if you don't drink coffee. I've started actually going to the beach. I love the beach and actually working at the beach, no matter if there are distractions of people playing volleyball, cornhole, spike ball. I've kind of immersed myself in that because I love the beach, but then I feel like I even concentrate more at the beach and moving people forward. So I like that you mentioned that because I noticed I started shifting my momentum to places I really, truly love to be in.
Yeah, when you're at those places, you're going to find like-minded people. You're going to find like-minded energy. At the beach, you're finding like-minded energy. It flows with how you want to go. So you can pay attention for a moment, be inspired, and go back to what you're doing. But it's a like-minded energy. You want to build those relationships, find out where you're going to be like-minded, find those little community niches, and be willing to invest into those without necessarily needing a return, right? Because if you are in a like-minded, you're going to give your energy into that because that's natural to you. And when you've clicked with the right people, it's going to be reciprocated, right? When I work with one of my particular vendors, we always talk on the phone about a couple of other different subjects when we're on the call. And we're like, okay, let's get down to getting this thing designed and you guys getting it shipped over to us. But we've touched base. We've talked about stuff. I'm aware of where they're at with their company growth, where he's at with his kids and a couple of other things. And we just have a pleasant conversation like we're doing today. Yeah. But then we're ready to go, okay, let's get the rest of this design. You'll get it down to me in 3 weeks. Great. I'm looking forward to getting it installed for our client, right? It's an easy conversation. There are some that are really, really business. Hey, I need 15 pieces of this. They're like, hey, do you need this shipped to this PO or this PO? Or what do what's the order of fulfillment? Fantastic. Thank you. Have a nice day. Right? Don't be afraid to have those business relationships that are solid, quick, fulfilling. Gets the job done, but be willing to put yourself out there when you really click with someone as well. Because those are the people when they move to another company. And in my industry, everybody has moved to all kinds of companies. Right. I go back and I look at, a LinkedIn profile and see where Joe Billy Bob has left, and gone to another place. And I'm like, oh, you're now a senior fellow at Google. I used to work with you 15 years ago. That kind of stuff is like small world, right? Yeah. People move around to different companies and do different things. And, I know I had a good relationship back then. We solved lots of cool problems and we had good working relationship. I could reach out to his private email and go, hey, buddy, what's going on? Yeah. How's things going? I see you're now living up in the Bay Area as opposed to down in Los Angeles. Nice. Yeah. And it's funny too. You may move your whole life somewhere else and you still find your set of people that align with you. Yes. Yeah. That's cool. I've lived Los Angeles, San Diego, half a dozen different places in Los Angeles, all over Oregon. Wow. And 23 states I've worked in and hundreds of cities, part of the jobs that I've had to travel and be in for periods of weeks at a time. And I'll show up into a city like right now. And I know 3 or 4 businesses that I'll probably seek out within the period of time that I'll be there. And I know the people that are in those businesses will be more like-minded to me. Like if I go to an REI, the people that are shopping at REI, the people that are working behind the counter at REI are going to be people that I will get along with because we're outdoor adventurers and we seek to have good gear, good equipment, and good experiences, and we're trying to help others. Like I could go in there right there today and know that I could talk to any of those people and feel like I had a good day because they're like-minded. Got it. That's good to think about. As we're wrapping up the episode here, Rodney, one last question I do want to ask is if you had to give just one no BS piece of advice for success, what would that be? Especially someone of my age, in my generation, just starting off, trying to start our business. That's a tough one. You've touched on a few different subjects. Yeah. I think you need to ask yourself, what are you trying to get to? If you don't know a good definition of that, you're going to find yourself constantly misaligned, right? Because we all have social skills to have a good time at a conversation and feel like we've done something for the day. But if it's always a little off from where we are, you're not going to have that passion to really turn it into something that grows for you, And it doesn't necessarily have to be financial, right? We all want to have a good life, people, places, things, money to do it. And we place balance on those scales. So define that scale for you. Is it the money? Is it the car? Is it the cool chick? Is it, the business that I can say, I built that, right? And I built this and these companies use me, right? Define that. It doesn't have to be the perfect definition. It certainly doesn't have to stay that way. It's like picking something in college. You got to pick a major. You got to pick something you're going to study. You got to pick your electives. That's right. Define those pieces and say, I don't really like this, but I know it's going to help me. So I'm going to grunt my way through this because I know where it's going to lead me next, right? When I took some basic math and some design work and drafting work, I had some passion for some of it, but I also knew that I wanted to use those skills to draw and design things in the future. And that's where I am today. My drafting skills of 30 years ago is used today to quickly sketch out something and say, this is what I'm visioning. talk to somebody who can CAD faster than I can, and they go, I got it. I know what you're looking for. Let me get a few minutes on this and we'll refine this drawing.
Cool. Well, a lot of great stuff, Rodney, that we covered. Went all over the place in our
Yes.
conversation, but I still love everything. But I appreciate you coming on the episode. And to you guys watching, thank you for staying tuned. This Straight to the Point. Catch you on the next episode.